Now we are recording Rescue 246. What is up?
Hey man, what up, man? Good to see you guys. Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
What up?
thank you,
What up?
man. So, where exactly are you?
I'm right now. I'm in San Diego, California, actually, my hometown. I just drove. Let's see, I left New York around July, and I've been on the road since then. I've been posting up in mostly in Texas. I've been in Austin, great city, um, and now I'm in SD, back to Cali, back to my roots.
Are you completely alone? How's it going over there?
You mean in general, just the vibe in San Diego? Is that what you're
No, I
referring
mean, are
to?
you're just traveling completely alone?
I was with my partner Maggie. She's with her family in Texas for a little bit. She's from Houston, so we kind of we she stayed there for a little while. I came to see my folks, and just I'm planning on getting back to Texas probably within a month or so. Yeah,
That's like your stomping grounds right now, Texas.
Texas has been my stomping ground, man. Like I've been between Houston and Austin. Yeah, like I said, mostly Austin. Austin's it's going pretty well there. I like it. It's a great city.
That's what's
Yeah.
up. Were you living in New York before?
I was, yeah, kind of on the low. I was, let's see, I was in Midtown for a little bit, and then I was in Greenpoint, and then I was upstate, like in the Catskill Mountains, and then the last place I was living was in the Hudson Valley in Cold Spring.
Oh, that's what's up, man. That's crazy. I
Yeah,
had I had no idea.
yeah. I
I
was,
go
I was,
um I go hiking in Cold Spring up on that mountain. I would take the Metro North usually, and just like have a day to myself up there.
that's the best, man. The Breakneck Ridge. Yep. I love that spot. I love that spot. I wish, part of big part of my heart is still in upstate New York, but you know, as things are shifting, we have to adapt and you go with the flow, as they say, right?
Yeah. So, I guess my first question, that one of the biggest things that came to me as I lurked on your Instagram and all that stuff is, you know, in the graph world, you're just known as like Rescue 246, like graffiti bomber. There's videos of you painting and pictures of you painting with some pretty prominent heads. But in your day to day life, it seems to me like that's not necessarily your identity anymore, or what you identify as. You're really into, I guess, for lack of a better term, spirituality and, just mental wellness and just health in general and positivity. What happened that, how did you get
Hmm.
into all of this?
Yeah. Well, thanks for asking. All of that being said, yeah, totally. I think there's a lot of people that still have a certain idea of who I am because of like files on the internet that perhaps are still being circulated around. So in 2014 is when I had a big wake up call. Um, I was heavily intoxicated, not just substance abuse, alcohol, but not more than just that. It was like toxic environment. People that were just feeding me toxic energy. What I realized, it was the whole thing. Um, and my body was telling me like, "Yo, man, you gotta chill." Like there's many years that I didn't listen to that, but thank God, in 2014, I was like, "Yo, I gotta shift out of this, man. This is not working anymore. I'm not functioning correctly. I feel unhealthy." Um, and so, yeah, I'll just be flat out with it, man. I was introduced to master teacher plant work. First was ayahuasca, and I I did that up in Marin County in the Bay Area, and that was like probably one of the craziest and most beautiful things that ever happened in my life. Shifted me out of a frequency and sort of gave me an opportunity to I guess take action or put action to a few things that were shown to me, and it wasn't right away that happened. Let's see, probably like 2 months after that, I was back in the mix. I think probably like Atlanta, and there I was again, like doing the same old shit, and after that is when it really happened, man. I was back in SF, and just like probably like back to the lowest frequency again, the darkest dark. I'm like solo. Probably like I think I was like probably in some like hotel room by myself, paranoid, looking out the window, like wondering if like I don't even know for what reason I conceptualized that I was going to be arrested for something, but I was just super, in that space of like, oh damn, this is happening again. So I remember walking out to the street and just sort of having this moment where I started feeling a lot of the energy from that ceremony that I was in. Like something started communicating to me, and literally I looked up, and above my head was it was almost like a coil of black serpents that was like they're like floating above my head, like in like a hyper realistic space. Like I wasn't on. I mean, let's say I wouldn't say that. Maybe I was coming off of a lot of substances, so that could have had something to do with it. But whatever that was that I saw, those snakes, I shifted my path completely at that moment. So about a month after that, well, let's see, at that moment I committed right away to just starting a detox, and I did a master cleanse. I don't know if you guys ever heard of that, but it's like the lemon, cayenne pepper, and maple syrup, and you do that for 10 days, and you do like digestive teas and herbal teas and stuff like that, but it's nothing solid, it's just liquid. And that was a mission, man. Like I pulled it off. I somehow did 10 days. I felt like really cleaned out. And then I went to Peru for the first time, and I went and I did a full dieta, which is a master teacher plant diet where you're in the jungle mostly by yourself, and you work with these plants. And at that point, I didn't really know what any of this meant. I just like somehow got guided to go to Peru and have this experience. So as it starts unfolding, um, it's almost like your birth. You're given a new life in a sense. So it's like there's a part where you're actually being born again. You physically sort of feel that. You feel the sort of like toddler stage of like I can't even like walk really. I can't get my footing. So and then to like start taking first steps, and finally like you're holding onto like a ledge of a table to like actually like walking outside with your shoes off and feeling like this feels different somehow. What one of the main things those medicines taught me was how to die, and they really take you through a death process, and it really does feel like you're physically dying. If like you have the moment that's it. There's been a few times where I've been in ceremonies where I'm like, that's it, I'm out. Like I hope my mom, like worried about my mom. These things pop up like I didn't get to say bye to my mom or dad or my sister. Shit, like it's like you feel like you're dying, and that's what they show you. But then there's a light on the other side of that you start understanding the life and death process, not in just this life that you live, like perhaps like 100 years and you're going to die, but no, there's like more to it than that. There's many layers that we accumulate in this life, whatever you want to call it, this advanced simulation, or whatever this is, however we want to speak about this. And in these layers you learn. This is from my experience, and when the learning's done, you can let that go. I think I feel like a lot of people don't know how to let those layers go. So that was a big teacher for me in working with plants, was that it was showing me like certain parts of my life and certain aspects of my life that I had developed in and perhaps learned in, but because they kept going a certain way, there was a lot of dysfunction, there was unhealthy behavior, there was unhealthy patterning connected to it. So I went 3 years pretty all in, like on a lightning path with medicine work. And there's something that people kept saying like since the beginning, since I started with their like integration. I didn't really know what that meant until after the third year. And that's after drinking different plant medicines and working with different teachers in Peru for about 3 years, I just stopped everything completely. And that's when the real work started happening. And that's when the real integration, when I started learning what that word meant. And it's really just putting action to it, like walking the walk with all the stuff that was shown to you, either like in heightened visionary states, or in bodily sensations, or in my case, activations of my hands, and other energetic systems that I now use in my healing practices. So yeah, so it took that final, just like, that's it. I'm not, well, what really happened when, like, really, like, the last ceremony was that, like, the medicine showed me, like, yo, look what you're doing. You're not out boozing every weekend or sniffing blow, but here you are at a medicine ceremony, right? You're still putting something in. So that was a big wake up call. That was like, whoa, like, it's almost like, I turned, like, one addiction into another, in a sense, just like searching for this certain feeling, that feels really good, right? It feels really, you feel connected to people. You feel like, oh man, it feels so great to, like, it's like, I love these new people I've met in this community and these spaces. Like, everybody's such on a high vibe. I love, like, yo, I really love the chicken soup and, like, that sourdough bread that we make together after ceremonies. And then it's like, but then there's this little voice that was like, yo, check this out, like, look at what you're doing here. You're like, you're yeah, you're doing this every weekend now. So then I was like, oh, damn, you know what I mean? That was a big, like, that was a hard stop for me, and I'm glad that it happened, because I stopped everything, and then everything actually started opening up and blossoming in a start point to my trajectory now in the healing work, and all the offerings that I'm currently sharing with people. And I want to just add this in because I feel this is important, and these are my personal experiences, and that's I think something really important to say here around all this. Healing, to me, is a big word. Healer is also a big word. I don't consider myself a healer by any means. I think everybody's healing process is very personal, and you have your own creativity and your own imagination, and you can figure out your own way to do it. And that's how I feel I did it. I kind of took little bits and pieces of things that people were showing me, and I'm like, hey, this works for me. This doesn't work for me. Like, a fast here, this breath work practice works. I don't really like how this other one feels. So it's like, it's up to the individual. It really truly is. So yeah, to your question, that was my that's what happened to me in 2014, and alongside graffiti, um, graffiti still kept happening till about 17. I was still pretty active, and I was still going in, like, in a lot of different places. I went international with it. And I remember this moment in Greece that, like, we were out, like, kind of, we're going heavy, and we found this, like, little kind of like street swap meet in Athens that had, like, this pretty bomb, like, it was like some car paint or something, just like crazy label, like super toxic, dude, but like covered super good. Like the black was like so crispy, and I remember, like, it kept getting on my hand, and my hand just, like, was like, started to, like, curl up, and it was just like, yo, you're getting sick from this, you know what I mean? So, like, I noticed that there was a connection between my my sickness and the graffiti at that point in time in 2017. So that's when I decided to actually, like, just kick back a little bit and really get healthy, because I was attempting to do it in many ways, but I hit some part of the graffiti, the way that I was doing it was like was becoming unhealthy to my body. So that was an interesting thing that happened in 2017. And so, you know 2017 till about, 6 months ago, I've been kind of just chilling, and, like, I started to do some new stuff in a new way, and I'll talk to you guys about that a little bit. But just to your question, that's 2014 is when it started happening, and then in 17 the graph tapered a little bit, and that's when I actually started doing trainings to be in service. So that's a big part of my awakening was concept or understanding, or I like to say understanding now. Just bringing it all in, instead of understanding. To me, kind of like, you're like, I'm not lower than this, but I'm actually, like, bringing all this in, bringing in this information, training around it, and now offering it to people to help them in their process of waking up, of activating, of, discarding old patterning that no longer serves them, that has become unhealthy, and things of that nature. So Yeah, I'm pumped.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome that you're on a positive path of progressing and trying to share the message as best as you can and helping other people. And one of the things that came to my mind was the fact that you tie the fact that you had black paint that was toxic on your hand to kind of a bigger picture. You tie your sessions and you tie it into a greater whole of like it's almost as if you were still doing a type of drug because of how often you're doing it and what your the reason that you're doing it. So my question is, the name that you wrote was Rescue. And I
Hmm.
think that's pretty ironic because you're a life recovery coach. And in a sense, you could say you're either rescuing other people or maybe helping them rescue themselves. And do you ever think about that? Because, why did you choose that name? When did you choose that name? And now you're doing this?
Funny you ask, and yes, I've thought about that um, a lot the last couple of years, especially, and probably like around 2017, which is also another thing I'll mention here is that I started writing Rescue when I was 17. So that's been my number 17 has been my number for like my lucky number, like it's like my sidewalk post. I see that number a lot every day. And I know that like if I sometimes I use it with decision making, I'm like, okay, like should I go there? Oh, there's a 17. All right, yeah, that's a signal for me to like go that way. So Res 17 was my first name. I just like the words RES, right? And then I was 17 at the time, so it was Res 17, and then I was like, oh yeah, I'm smart. Q's the 17th letter of the alphabet, so I'm just gonna be Rescue now. But all of these things, all of these puzzle pieces come together in this certain way that like I I I get more now that like in that time is not linear, and this is like most of this construct, this reality has been fed to us in a false way. So like when I get those aha things, it makes me pumped up. um and after I started doing this healing work, that started coming up a lot. And I went to Brazil on some other on some whole other thing, but connected to all this too. And this is I'm just going to summarize from like an Akashic record reading to things that happened to me when I was a little kid, to always have seen lights in the sky, to have been like taken up several times, like and then the healing work and all these things like kind of all coming together. So in 2017, I get to this community in Brazil, and a lot of people like they start coming up to me. They're like, "Hey, what's up, man? Are you here for the rescue mission too?" And I'm just like, "Whoa, that's crazy." You know what I mean? Like somehow I picked this name when I was 17 to get to this place in 2017, and other people were talking about the rescue mission too. So the rescue mission to me is right now for all of us. I think that we have an opportunity right now to take this quantum leap into our next evolutionary state. And that's what I'm here for, to assist in that, and to assist in showing people where those switches are that they can turn on and activate themselves and heal them and help heal themselves, and is aligned to their higher values and to their health and wellness. So this bigger rescue mission, this bigger work, is about that. It's about being in service for everybody else to help them move along so that we can all collectively evolve too. So that's a little bit around my name, and how it's important to me now, especially that like I chose that name. Also big time family and ancestral work that I'm doing now on myself is like a big shift in like a trajectory of alcoholism and drug abuse in both sides of my mom's and dad's family. So like I feel like I have this opportunity to shift this to turn this corner in a different way now for all of them too. And so I'm doing all that, and helping my community, man. I'm really really excited and happy that a lot of my graffiti peers are reaching out to me, like hit me up like, yo man, I need help, like how'd you do it? Let's get on the phone, let's have a conversation. I'm going to share whatever what I got, and you can take whatever you want and leave the rest, like that's how it's going so far. And yeah, I'm happy to share more about that too.
Dude, that's amazing. I just wanted to touch base how you said, in a way, your whole life has led up to being in this position right now where you are, where like you said, time isn't linear, but like you look back and everything makes sense. Like the pattern just unfold perfectly to where like you ended up in Brazil, you ended up doing ayahuasca, and now you realize that there's more. There's we're living in a time right now where this energy is like accelerated and this frequency
Hmm.
is like all over the place, and like people need a certain guidance, you know what I mean, to use the power within them to, like, use it for the benefit. And I wanted to talk about the psychedelic experience you had because like me personally, I look up to ayahuasca rituals. Like it's my dream, honestly, to go to Peru and experience that for myself. But like with the current situation, it's, I don't know when the fuck that's gonna happen. But
Right, right.
I do like I I use like psilocybin, you know what I mean, when I can. And it's funny you said with psychedelics, it's like you didn't even plan on it, but it was in a way where the universe like m- allowed you to experience that at that particular time. And I feel that when I eat psilocybin, it's like I never plan on it, or even if I do try to force it, it's like something's happened where maybe it wasn't meant to be at that particular moment. I wasn't meant to experience that type of enhancement or that knowledge. Perhaps like I need to, and it, in a way, it happens out of nowhere where I'm like um like I'm ready at the time to gain the knowledge, or something's going on where I need that push. Or, and like you said, beings of light, I feel like a lot of us have that within us, but it's hard to use that to spread it to other people, and it's constant like work, it's a lot of trial and error, it's a lot of realizing, it's a lot of self-analysis, and it's just amazing hearing you speak about this, honestly, because it's like genuine conversation about something so serious right now. And there's no time to waste, there's really no time. And I don't know, that's what I have to say about that.
Man, yeah, thank you for sharing that and from your heart. There's a lot in there that is I feel a connection to and a resonance with through my personal experience, and also through my development in being a better listener is a big point I want to say here. And developing um, one's presence is the true ninja shit, that's going to be really helpful in these spaces moving forward for a lot of people. A lot of people really, man, we've lost the connection with each other, and that's why there's a lot of, you know, people that fall out, that they don't want to be a part of this anymore. They OD, they commit suicide. You know what I mean? Like there's other stuff, big stuff that needs to be addressed and needs to be helped. And the plants, and even psilocybin, I worked with that, with that medicine also. Those are some of the big lessons that it taught me. It was like really just simple lessons in just being, and also just listening, and learning how to be present, learning how to like shake off all of your nervous energy so that you can just be here with whoever is communicating with you, and be a receiver and a reflector. um, and you said something about the light beings that I said too, and I really truly feel that we are we are light beings, and we're remembering that part of, like, what I call this is technology. This is the human technology. This is super important to keep healthy, because as you keep getting more healthy, you start activating all of these energy systems that can connect you to these higher sources of information. And that's, so you understand that because you worked with these plants, and then you have these openings where you're like, oh shit, all these things came through, right? You can do that on the daily if you're tuned up enough, man. And so it's like, really, this is ninjahood right here, y'all. It's really just like, learning how to release all of that old programming that's been like, it's been wonky. You know what I mean? It's like, why isn't this working out? You know what I mean? Like, I continue to do this and I end up back in the same place. It's like, because it's a program that's running, and then also a lot of people, they really just, they the narratives I've heard people say about their lives, I'm just like, oh, let's stop here and wait. What did you say again? You said because you just know that in three, you know your body needs like 3 drinks a day, and but like around the 12th day, you get like the craziest anxiety attack, and I know that I'm going to be destroyed. So these things come out of people's mouths, you know what I mean? And I'm just like, wait, let's take a second here and just like repeat back what you just said. Yo, it comes out of your mouth. It's your program. It's your life. You know what I mean? It's like you can create any life that you want simply by tuning and listening to what you say, and saying, instead of like, oh shit, I'm gonna be destroyed or whatever, you say like, no, I'm gonna take some time to write down my intentions, and to you know to really focus on where I want to be in 3 years, and it's, man, it's pretty wild, the power we have with our words, and the stories that we speak about ourselves, especially. um so that's some big stuff that I've learned along, in these past several years, in these spaces, and in this integration too. And it took a little while, man. Honestly, it's like it didn't happen overnight. This work requires discipline, big time. It requires discipline, but it also requires you to have fun with it. And that's another big point I want to say here. It's like really just like making it into a game, man, is the best thing ever. And then similarly to like, let's say like psilocybin, right? I talked to someone on the phone yesterday, and I mentioned to them that I was at Joshua Tree, and they're like, "Oh, I heard it was, oh damn, I heard it was crazy. Or it's cool to take mushrooms there, right? I heard you can have some like crazy trips there." And I was just like, okay, well, how about you go with an intention to work with the medicine and ask a question, instead of like this program that's running of like mushrooms and Joshua Tree, yo, that's gonna be crazy. You know what I mean? Like, sure, it'll probably get crazy for you, right? Instead of like,
I'm
you can
sorry.
say something.
I just wanted to definitely relate on that because it's so funny you say that because people think it's in a way a party drug, and it's not. Maybe they just don't know any better, They haven't maybe spoken to someone in their life that speaks of these things, that they're teachers, like they're like,
Right.
what are you talking about? It's just a substance. It's something physical. It's a drug, like it's falls in the same category as cocaine, whatever, like all these drugs, But it's funny you say that because I feel like these teachers have like a mind of their own because one time this guy that I go to the gym with, he was like he knew that I like do psilocybin sometimes, and he always looked down upon it in a way. But one day he came up to me and he was like, "Oh, would it be cool to like can you get me some? Like I want to try it, with my girlfriend, like because I like taking drugs and I like having sex with my girlfriend on them,
Mhm.
and right away I was like, I was, to be nice, I was like, yeah, I'll get you them, like, but after that, I thought to myself, I wonder what kind of experience he'll have with the intentions of just having like sensual pleasures, something
Mhm.
just like temporary, something like, don't get me wrong, like can be amazing, but it's also it can be like shallow, so so I gave it to him, and I remember a few days later or a week or something, he comes back to me and he goes, I gave them to my neighbor. Like I really didn't like them. Like me and her were having headaches. We were like feeling nauseated. We weren't, we didn't really experience what we thought we would. And I didn't tell him anything, to not to be disrespectful to him, but to myself later on, I was thinking about that, how it's like you can't be disrespectful to teachers, you know what I mean? And it just relates
Right.
to what you said. Like
Yeah.
people think like don't get me wrong, I've had that time too where I would go and be like, oh, that's an amazing place where I would take mushrooms. But I know that being in that amazing place, not only would I experience the visuals, but I was also take in a lot of what's around me and a lot of like information. You know what I mean? So it's funny you brought that up.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks for relating to that. And similarly, I've also had those experiences too, man. Like, wow, like sex on psychedelics is fucking absolutely amazing sometimes, and like if it rolls out like that, cool. But I feel there's a big part here to share with people now, in that it's there's a lot of that information now, that there's a lot of research that's been done, and it's like there's a lot of people that are getting to that place where like they can see that and feel that psychedelics can help them in some way heal themselves. And so a big insert here is working on a clear intention to work with these medicines with is very important, and that's what have found very helpful. And also, yeah, it's respect. It's respectful to work with them in that way, because they do hold a lot of wisdom and a lot of information for us. And I want to say this too, because this is a big part of my work also, and it's around raising awareness around being in right relationship with the natural elements, especially. And so plant medicines are a natural element. Um, Another part of my story I'll tell you guys, because this is important too. That in 2000, this will segue from another medicine ceremony into like a bigger thing that happened to me, that's related to the work that I'm offering now. Is that I was in 2016. I was in Amatlan in Mexico, which is in the state of Morelos, and they say that Amatlan is where Quetzalcoatl uh, was born in one of his human experiences. So Quetzalcoatl is also, they say that he was Ashtar. Some cultures call him Vishnu. So he's like an ascended being that came, and he also the first one that brought corn to our planet, apparently, is that, as these like wisdom traditions like hold these stories and what they say. So I'm in this place where corn arrived to this place, to this whatever this is, this earth. And I'm in a pretty hyper realistic space, and this dude walks up to me, and it was like he was almost like a future version of myself. Like he was like had long hair. I have long hair now, for the first time in a long time. And okay, and he walks up to me, says, "Give me your right hand," and I go like this, and he says, "Today I'm giving you the gift of lightning," and he put a lightning bolt in my hand. And after that, when I came to like hours later, and I'm back in like my this default, right? I'm like, oh shit, I remembered I had been struck by lightning twice, and it never registered until that moment those were important events in my life. The first time was in 2000. In 2000, I was actually with a few different writers, and we were going to paint trains in St. Louis, and all of a sudden a crazy storm broke out, and I was closest to this telephone pole. It was like a light pole, and it like I remember just seeing it from the ground up, and it like knocked me down. It hit me on the right shoulder, so it wasn't like a direct hit, but like my hearing went out for a while. And then the second time I was in Las Vegas, and literally, dude, it was like back in 2002. There's like AOL dial-up, and I'm like, literally, I'm researching Thoth, the Egyptian, Hermes, and Mercury, and their connection to lightning. And then the house got hit by lightning, and I went into like a liminal like white space for like I don't know how long, and so that was it. That was my current state of being at those times. I only had enough bandwidth to remember those events and shelf them. Like I was just like, those weren't important. I told a few people in my family, some friends, like ex-girlfriends, and that was it. So then 2016, this in a medicine ceremony, this being puts lightning in my hand. I remember again. And then a month later, I'm at ceremonies in the next town over in Mexico, where I'm meeting other people who've been struck by lightning, and I'm like, I recognize them somehow, but like I don't know from where. And so yeah, and then that led me into being initiated into this path, as a Nahua granicero. It's a tribe from the Central Highlands of Mexico, and so granicero means granger, and if you want to translate it into English, and that means one who works with the hail and the storms. So that's what I do now. That's what happened after like this sort of like thing that happened to me a long time ago, to like a medicine ceremony, to getting directed to these other ceremonies, and now I'm initiated in this like path. So that's the sort of like that's how these things work, and I really love it, but it's just like still like, whoa, what is going on here? You know what I mean? Um, so what I was gonna say too, to my point at the beginning of this, was like that this path is the path that has really shown me that in order to work in this way, I have to stay really clear. So that means like no more drugs, no more booze. Perhaps I'll take like a ceremonial sip of something to like feel the spirit, but that's it. And it's cool that like years later, like I'll try like even like an extra sip of like say like tequila, and my body's just like, nah, man, that's it. You know, like it just reacts of like, whereas before it would be like, oh yeah, I want another one of those. You know what I mean? So something switched, right? So this relationship that I have now with the weather has taught me that, and also guided me to like share this information with a lot of people, that like especially during these times we need to come into harmony with the natural elements, because we're in like a major shift right here. So like that's why there's like all these like, you know, tornadoes, storms, all this stuff happening, earthquakes and stuff. It's because like stuff's out of alignment, you know, for in people too. So that's part of my work too, alongside the healing work. It's raising awareness about being in right relationship with the natural elements. And that's just something that you can add to anything in your life. You know, that's like, you have some trees outside, some plants. You can go like you can talk to them. They're interactive, just like your homies. You know, like they 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 will start responding. From my experience, like you can go up to a tree and offer it tobacco, and then next thing you know, somehow it communicates with you. It not verbally, but like some, you'll know that, like, you know, a feather will drop one day. You're walking by that tree, and it's like, okay, this is how they like to communicate. So I just wanted to add that in there because I think it's important to share with people.
So you're on this path now, but you know, you weren't always. And on one of your captions that you put on Instagram, or maybe it wasn't a caption, maybe it was you just talking in a video. You were saying how, you know, a lot of the people, a lot of the graffiti writers and your friends and who knew you 15 years ago say, you know, you were just a totally different person. So I only see, you know, this is my first time talking to you, and
Yeah.
I only see this person who's in front of me now, but who is the person that you were 15 years ago that I guess maybe no longer exists? If you could
Ah,
describe that person, who was that person?
it's funny. Well, I'll add a few things in here for sure. Yeah, I mean, my homies used to call me Diablo, man. That was me, you know, the devil himself. You know, that's who I was. You know, like, here comes the devil, rescue's coming. You know, so now after, I, I don't know if that sums it all up, but like, you know, I was wild, man. I was into, you know, like I said, it was like what I realized I was doing though, and part of during my wake up call was like, yo, I'm a natural leader. This is one of my abilities. I'm a leader. I'm also a community bridge. I always like, especially in graffiti, I'm the one that's like done the groundwork in certain cities. I've met the writers and I've connected them and put them in the different crews. Like that's how I just like, since I in my early 20s, that's how I rolled. You know, like I got to Mexico City, I got Zombra, took him to Japan. Like it's just kind of like how, that's just one example, you know. But like somehow I've been in the mix with a lot of different graffiti crews for a long time, you know. And those are still all of them, all my family, all my boys forever. And I love them, you know. So now I can offer this information to them that hopefully can be helpful for them. So what I learned about Diablo though, for like, there was a lot of years where I was like, oh man, like I would show up in places, I was trying to take a break, and people were like, yo, Diablo, and I'd be like, oh man, like don't call me that anymore, man. Like I've changed, you know. But I realized after a lot of this work that I'm doing now is that, like, man, we have to really like, we really have to take care of our shadow, man. Like this is important work in all this mix too. Like we can't discard the shadow, because everywhere you go, this light is on my back right now is the light, but right there is my shadow. You know, it's always going to be with you no matter what. So now bigger work for me is actually like stepping into real like men's work and vulnerability work in that it's really just taking a little extra time to set up a little space to do something. So instead of like, fuck, I'm gonna just let my anger out and let it come out, you understand that that's part of your shadow and your rage and your anger, right? So instead of like letting it just trigger you, you set up a safe space for that. You know what, I'm gonna go out to the woods. I got some shit I need to get off my chest, and I'm gonna let it out, you know. So there's strategic ways to work with your shadow. So anyways, I've learned how to transmute the energy of that like dark, um label, or like whatever, the Danny Diablo, into, like, now I call myself Diablo de Luz, so I'm a light devil now.
Mhm.
So I'm still there. Yeah.
You know, I know very little about ayahuasca. I know very little about DMT. Um, I know very little about psilocybin. But what I was thinking about was that you said you kind of emphasized that healing, these are your experiences and healing is a personal process for each person. And I guess what I was thinking is at the end of the day, if you were once, Diablo, if you were once a really rowdy person and now you're, a better version of yourself, then like if what it took to open your eyes was like ayahuasca or the what did you say, master teacher plant, if these things are what it took, then some people, like you said, it's a personal process. So for some people it's one thing, I think for other people it's another thing. And like what matters in my opinion, I guess, is the result. If it worked for you, then that's amazing for you. if
Hmm.
if if this is what brought you here and you can share your story, and even if some people like me maybe don't understand it because I haven't had any experiences like that or whatever, it's like kind of irrelevant, because at the end of the day, if this helps one person, then that's one person, you can that's what's up. And
Yeah.
it's really cool to see people go from one crazy path to another more positive path. And more than just that is try to each one teach one, spread the word.
Boom, there it is, man. That's it. And it's just that. So what I was saying in that last area was that, like, I realized I was leading people in on this path of like darkness, in a sense. You know what I mean? Like, they're like, yo, let's follow Rescue. He does this, he does that. You know what I mean? This fool's crazy, right? And it's just like I realized there's like all these like younger dudes like behind me, like following my footsteps. So that right there, leading by example, is like all I can really do now. I can just work on myself and transmit the information. And so I like you said, it's up to the individual to want to, like, even go drink medicine for the first time. What I can say from my experience and what happened to me is that the plants have tuned me now to transmit the information and the frequencies through my voice. It's wild, man. So like basically, a lot of people say that, like, when they have a session for me, it's like a medicine ceremony because I carry so much of that medicine inside me already. It transmits out of my voice, so it's almost like, yeah, it's interesting, like how I'm honing that skill of like what I learned in the jungle. Now I can just transmit it through my presence, through my energy, and through my voice and the sound and the other techniques that I use. So that's another interesting point.
It's amazing, bro. Is you got any more graffiti in you?
Yeah, man, for sure. Oh, yeah. So graffiti came back in the mix because I'm doing a project called Enjoy Activation. So it's a high frequency wordplay project, and it's like EN, capital ACT, activation. So it's like the joy and the act are emphasized. So that's just one example of like the wordplay that we want. We're putting it in, like, primetime spots, like, public, um, in your face spots. We want to help just raise the vibration right now as best as we can. We did a few in Detroit, lead with your heart, and then the art was emphasized. We did another one that said in good health, and the heal and health was emphasized. I think we're going to try to do it in LA next week. Even amidst all this stuff that people are hearing on the news, we're gonna do it anyways. Just so that's me coming into graffiti in a new frequency. Is what I'm, to your point there, is that yes, there's a lot of graffiti in me, and I have a new way to express it now, um, which I feel is important and helpful.
Yeah, graffiti can be a tool because you already have the skills and now you can use it to spread a different message. Maybe not just the name, but like you said, those murals that you're doing. And I seen on your Instagram, they look amazing, man. I seen
Yo, thank you, man.
the lead with your heart, and then the heart had like this fire in it.
Yeah.
The colors were like blended. It was amazing, and
Yeah,
I'm sure.
exactly, man. It's like that was total flow state, man. That was like, like, yeah, you could, people were like, yo, that's when you're really like, when you're flexing, you know what I mean? It's, you're just having fun, you know what I'm saying? You're like putting all those colors together. That was great. I'm excited. I'm really excited about that project, man. It's starting to take off, and I'm, I got a lot of vision for it, and if we pull it off next week, I think it's gonna come out cool. I'll keep you guys posted on that.
Yeah, for sure, man. If you don't mind me asking, how did you get down with 246 that's from Japan and you're from America? Assuming you're from
Um,
America.
yeah, I was born in San Diego, SoCal. I started going to Japan. I went to Japan for the first time with Malvo in 2000. I think it was like 2008, 2007 or 8, and we got connected to Wanto through MQ. I think it was actually, yeah, that's how that connection was made. And then man, those guys were just so, you know, such brothers. They just invited us in and like gave us places to stay, and then since then it just was on. You know, I kept going back there, and just love Japan, man. I want to go back soon. I haven't been there so long.
Yeah, I've never
Hey,
been there either.
just real quick too, because I'm just noticing I got like 5%. I just don't want it to cut off. So just as a note, we
For
gotta,
sure, man.
yeah.
Yeah, I guess if this was really good, man. If you have anything you like, last words you want to say to everybody or anything like that, I want to thank you for coming on for real, bro.
Yo, man, I appreciate you guys too, man. It's funny because I was just with Serge actually, Sergio Hernandez, right before I got on this call, and I told him I was coming on. You guys, he's like, yo, that's sick, man. He's like, he's putting together a little art show over here, and I'm hanging something in it, and it feels nice to be back. You know, not back, and I've always been in it, but just like present in this community again. And I appreciate what you both are doing, and you guys both have a really good vibe and high frequency. I could feel it, and there's a buzz around it. So I'm just, yeah, man, I'm super grateful to be here to share this information. Like I said, man, like healing is very personal, and I get that because it was very personal to me. You know, I'm now a guide, helping people, you know, turn on their switches, helping people do recovery work if they're like, you know, taking too much in. I'm showing them what helped me to like cut back, and also to like reprogram the patterning, and also reprogramming the words that people say about their lives, and how it looks, right. Yeah, just super excited to continue in this way and this work, and happy to share anything else with everybody, anyone that wants to know.
Dude, thank you so much. It was a pleasure, man. And my last thing I want to say is that I think we'll come out on top, man. It's more
Yeah.
powerful than the darkness, for sure. Fuck
Oh,
all,
100%.
fuck all that.
100%, man.
You know.
Absolutely, bro. Yeah, same here, you know, but like I said, the shadow's always going to be there, so learning how to take care of that too, that while still being in alignment, is very important also.
Peace.
Thank you so much.
Yo, peace,
Later, man.
brothers.
Talk
Yeah,
soon.
man. Good one. Yep.
Thank you. Peace.
Yep.